Warning, the following video may contain violence, gore, and spoilers. Enjoy. You're welcome for the nightmares.
Okay, Friday the 13th. God damn it! Wrong music. I'll be back. God damn it. I keep doing it. Oh my god, we got it right. Okay, let's go. So, Friday the 13th is considered an unlucky day in the Western superstition. It occurs on the 13th of the month in the Georgian calendar, which falls on a Friday, which happens at least once a year, but can happen 3 times every year. So, now let's talk about the iconic movie franchise. So, Friday the 13th is a very, very iconic movie franchise, which is very successful, which has raked in a total of $464.67 million totally made. With the first one, Friday the 13th, who would have guessed, coming out in 1980, and the most recent one to the franchise, which is actually a remake of Friday the 13th, made in 2009. And the first one was made by a dude called Victor Miller, and yep, so basically it's about this boyhood Jason Voorhees. He drowned at Camp Crystal Lake, which is the setting for, which started off the whole franchise, and he drowned in there, and the councillors didn't help him, and he died there. So he comes back and kills everyone, basically almost like, you didn't help me, so yeah, you're not going to come out of here alive, like, it's just not going to happen. Okay, so let's carry on with the video, talking about everything to do with Friday the 13th and how successful it is. Okay, so let's talk about the original. What made Friday the 13th? Friday the 13th, the iconic and successful movie franchise that it is. Okay, so the original Friday the 13th came out in 1980, and the synopsis is basically Mrs. Pamela Voorhees, played by Betsy Palmer, stalks and murders the teenagers preparing Camp Crystal Lake for reopening, as Jason died and then he got shut down for a bunch of a while. She's determined to ensure that the camp does not reopen after her son, Jason, played by Ari Lemon, drowns in the lake due to my life. Okay, so let's talk about the original Friday the 13th. What made Friday the 13th? Friday the 13th, the iconic, successful movie franchise that it is. So, in the original Friday the 13th, released in 1980, Mrs. Pamela Voorhees, played by Betsy Palmer, stalks and murders the teenagers preparing Camp Crystal Lake for reopening. She's determined to ensure that the camp does not reopen after her son, Jason Ari Lemon, drowned in the lake due to the negligence of 2 staff members. The last counsellor, which is Alice Hardy, played by Adrienne King, fends off Mrs. Voorhees long enough to grab a machete and decapitate her. And this film is really good. It's old, but it's a classic, so you guys should definitely check it out. So now, let's talk about the most recent part of the franchise, excluding the remake, which we'll leave for later on. It is Freddy vs. Jason, which came out in 2003. So, in the film, set years after the events of Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare, and Jason goes to hell the final Friday. Freddy, played by Robert Englund, has grown incapable of haunting people's dreams, as the citizens of Springwood, Ohio, mostly have forgotten about him following his death and subsequent imprisonment in hell for his sins. To regain his power and freedom, Freddy resurrects Jason, played by Ken Kazinga, and manipulates him into travelling Springwood to cause panic and fear, leading to the rumours that Freddy has returned. However, while Jason succeeds in causing enough fear for Freddy to haunt the town again, Jason angers Krueger by depriving his potential victim. This ultimately sends the 2 undead monsters into a violent conflict. Now, some would argue that this is definitely one of the most iconic crossovers in horror films, and I quite agree with that, because these two are Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th are very, very iconic movie franchises. And obviously, a lot of the fans would love to see who would win, Freddy or Jason. And in that film, you go watch that, you find out for yourself. So now, let's move on to the video game. Okay, so now let's talk about the video games. In May 1986, Delmont released a Friday the 13th game for the Amstrad CPC, Commodore 64 and the ZX Spectrum. The plot involved the player picking a sanctuary and attempting to persuade the others to hide there. Jason is disguised as a friend until he decides to attack the player. 3 years later, LGN published a game for the NES Nintendo Entertainment System. In 2007, Zendex released their own Friday the 13th game for mobile phones, which is $4.99 in the App Store. In the game, the player plays as one of the councillors of Camp Crystal Lake. While the staff is preparing for its first summer weekend, an unknown stalker begins murdering each of them. The player must then discover the truth and escape the camp alive. Oh lord, guys, I'm dying. Oh, Jason, please come and kill me now. Ugh. Okay, so, now, on to the newest game, Friday the 13th, the game. Really original title. Really reels me in. But on a level though, this game is so good. Okay. EGM, which is Electronic Gaming Monthly, announced in 2015 that the new survival horror multi-platform, asymmetrical, cooperative and competitive multiplayer predator/play horror experience is in development, with a tentative release date in October 2015. The game was originally titled Slasher Volume 1 Summer Camp, in which it was originally developed by IllFonic, but Gun Media joined and helped to develop. So then, with the confirmation title of Friday the 13th, the game, a developer panel for Gun Media and IllFonic was opened at PAX South 2016 in January with the alpha footage and a list of kill animations. So now let's go and look at the gameplay of some of the games, and after that we'll talk about stuff like merchandise.
Why? Jason actually only has 2 speeds inside a house, day 1 speed and day 3 speed. On day 1, you have
God, please don't see me.
So, in addition to the film, television series, and various literature based on Friday the 13th franchise, there are over 100 licensed products that have grossed over than $125 million in revenue. Over the years, the characters of Friday the 13th have been marketed in various toy lines. In 1988, Screaming Toys produced a model kit of Jason Voorhees. 6 years later, Screaming Toys issued a second model kit based on Jason Voorhees' appearance in Jason Goes to Hell. Both kits are no longer in production though. In 1998, as part of McFarlane Toys, Movie Manics 1 collection, a figure of Jason from Jason Goes to Hell was released. Jason was one of those 3 popular figures sold from the following year. 6 inches, 150mm scale models of Jason and Freddy in the glass display case were released by McFarlane Toys. In 2002, as part of its Movie Maniacs 5 collection, another Friday the 13th collectible until November 2006 when a 3D three-dimensional movie poster was released. Since 2002, there has been a steady production of action figure dolls, statuettes, with more merchandise and trying into the film of Freddy vs. Jason. So, overall, Friday the 13th is a very iconic and successful movie franchise, raking in millions, making successful video games, movies, TV shows, t-shirts, and just overall merchandise. It's a very good film, and anybody that loves horror films, this is definitely a recommended one. Okay, so that's all we're going to have for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll be producing more videos for you guys just like this, and I'm thinking of doing something that you guys might enjoy, but you'll have to wait for that. Alright, peace out, guys.